Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mysterious Pals. My name is Chris, and I'm here with my best buddy, Jordan. Jordan, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chris.
It is a great day in the neighborhood. And speaking of the neighborhood, we have a new, never before on this show guest. Only our second guest, actually. So, you know, he is our friend. He comes to us from underneath the earth in a bunker. We call him Bunker Brian.
Hello.
Bunker Brian.
5G Brian.
5G Brian.
7G, actually. I've upgraded, actually. Look at this is my Commodore 64 array that I've been working on for about 2 days. It's up and running. Well, I mean, they're off right now, but it's in silent running. So I'm very happy to be here.
You're crunching a lot of numbers down there.
We're crunching conspiracies down here. I'm trying to solve the world's problems one crunch at a time, one crunch bar at a time.
I want to say we both loved you in when you were in as Cousin Eddie in Christmas Story.
Really thank you. No, that's I'm actually buying that from his line. It's Speaking of conspiracy theorists, I don't know if you followed that actor, but in recent times you could probably buy these turtlenecks from him right now. But this is the look I'm going for. This is my 60s living into an office and neglecting my family and following every conspiracy I can. Look, that's
deep underground,
following your dreams.
But buried at the Earth's core and discovering mysteries. Yes.
Well, he's here today to join us on this journey. But I want to say, Jordan, how was your week? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I know this guy's creeping me out, man.
Brian, how you doing? Where are you from? Who are you?
Yeah, tell us about yourself.
My name is Brian.
What sign are you?
I'm actually a Taurus.
Oh,
which is a safe sign. I'm built like a bull, if you will. But no, I'm a half of the Cream team. I know you guys had Jeff on the show before. He's a good friend of mine. We do like video game streams and comedy stuff and play metal together. And I just happen to be obsessed with a certain
topic tonight. Yep.
Yeah. So I just wanted to be part of this. I had to be here.
You're also part of the Bethlehem.
That's correct. Yes.
Yes. Our theme music. Yes. Thank you for that. Offering that, giving us that. And I'm glad you were able to, invite us down, let us see into your lab here.
If a bug gets in here, I have to shut it down. It's DEFCON 1. I actually melt down this lab into nothing and rebuild it from scrap.
Where do you go to the bathroom in there?
Inside the computer monitors that break. You could actually see them fill up like somewhat like an aquarium. So
that's how you power them.
It's something I'm working on. It's a project. Yeah, it's another conspiracy. Can we power things by
the government? You don't want the government to have it.
No, I don't want the government to have any of my fluids.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here, and we are going to cover something that interests you. It was your idea. None of them. Can't have any of them.
None of my fluids, government.
When I say they're my fluids, I mean they're my fluids, Showbot. Thanks.
That's great.
Anyway, you can cut that.
It's going to be great keeping us on the rails the entire episode. And a serious topic, nonetheless. I'm going to be taking us down this road, and it is one of the most complicated things that I've ever researched. And I probably scratched a very, very small surface of it. Brian, I know you're a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's why I also asked you what your sign was. Little
right.
wink there.
Little hint to these listeners.
How many signs do you have on those monitors back there?
I have one sign that says "Keep your hands clean." I always don't follow that rule. I have a problem.
Well, thank you for being here, gentlemen. It is a pleasure and an honor to be with you today and talk about something, again, that is the most complicated thing that I've ever experienced because it is so much a part of the conspiracy, mysterious world of stuff, specifically true crime and murder.
People love it.
Exactly. I don't know. It's Jordan's usually the murder guy, but I decided to take this one because I'm dumb. In any case, this is probably going to be a multi-part episode, probably 2, hopefully no more than that. But Brian is here to help me navigate this pile of crap that we call the Zodiac Killer. Who was the Zodiac Killer? What the heck was he doing, and why was he doing it? All questions we hope to answer, but we won't answer because we are not good at that on this show. We make things worse, as we've said many times. Brian, are you ready?
I am ready.
Buckle up. Jordan, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
The Zodiac Killer was the name, or was given to a person who was a serial killer, operated in Northern California in the late 1960s. Is one of, if not the most famous killer of all time, and one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in American history, of course. Mm-hmm. And it's part of popular culture. So everybody knows and heard of the Zodiac Killer.
Sure.
Especially around the world. It's very popular in other parts of Europe and stuff too. I found out that it's really popular around the world as well, and especially in Western culture. He is credited of having at least, that we know of, 5 victims in the San Francisco Bay Area between 1968 and 1969. He is also communicated with the public and authorities through a series of cryptic letters, creating an aura of mystery and terror. This is kind of the thing.
It sounds like someone else we know who did the same thing in a past episode we did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who?
Jack the Ripper.
Oh, okay.
I blacked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he
Jack the Ripper
killed multiple people, then disappeared, then would taunt the police, newspapers.
Yes. And also, he once said,
I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because mayhem is the most dangerous ill of all.
These are the type of things that he used, that he used as communication to the public, and what's probably made him the most, brought him up to the status of being one of the most famous killers of all time. He's sent, like I said, more than 20 written communications to police officials, newspapers, and individuals between 1966 and 1964. Although his murders, specifically his murders that we know of, only happened in those 1968 to 69. Mm-hmm. The Zodiac's letters were typically signed with a symbol resembling crosshairs of a gun sight. That's what you get if you look up, well, I'll put on the screen, you'll see what it looks like. Each letter he wrote began with the ominous phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking." Brian, can you give me a read of one of those?
Yeah, hang on. Let me get put the voice back on.
For those who are just listening, Brian is in a room full of computers in the background.
Yes.
He's got a white turtleneck on.
In his bunker.
Bunker.
This is the Zodiac speaking.
That is how he started a lot of his communications. He also had he had some famous ciphers and cryptograms. The most famous communications, his letters, included these cryptograms and ciphers that were printed in newspapers at the time. They were puzzles that were actually one of them was solved. 2 other ones were not until recently. One of them was solved recently. And then there's another third one that's still unsolved, I believe. One of his big tools that he used was taunting law officials or law enforcement through the media. He claimed ciphers contained the identity, and this fueled speculation and fear. So by threatening to kill more people if the ciphers were not published, he can control the narrative because people were so scared that he would do what he said because he killed so many people. We're going to talk about what was going on in society at the time, their response to it, but what do you think was going on in the late 60s when this was happening? I know you weren't alive. We weren't alive then, but what do you think was going on in society how do you think it felt to be alive during this thing?
Well, as it's going on, or just
as it's going on.
I think obviously, we're in the middle of the Cold War, so there's a lot of uncertainty with that, and the times are changing. Is that what Bob Dylan said? Did Bob Dylan something like that?
He said that.
I can confirm he said that. It's the 60s, so you're going through movement. Different various movements are starting to happen around now. There's a lot of uncertainty. Imagine the idea of someone going around killing people doesn't help with that.
No.
It'd be terrifying.
The big thing was he used the newspapers.
Yeah.
He marketed himself so well. And that's why he's so famous. This story is so famous.
It's not like, imagine he wasn't the first serial killer going around, right?
I was going to bring that up too. Yeah, no, I think that there were serial killers before him, but the idea of a serial killer in the country being a threat was a big thing at the time. It was like the boogeyman for a lot of people. And that's why, and like, especially, not only that, but like he was threatening kids in some of the letters eventually and stuff like that, which I'm sure we'll get to, but like just little details like that made people afraid to go out at night. And that's, I think, what he was kind of going for. Yeah.
A lot of what he had in the letters were like maps, bomb diagrams, reference to things like the Exorcist movie, I guess was also part of it. But it was really, he was just so brutal in what he did and what he said, like threatening kids on a school bus, threatening school buses, things like that.
He created a brand for himself.
Right. He could be like, he was like the original influencer in some cases. Okay, so we're going to jump into victim selection. So before we go into like timeline events, I just want to talk about kind of what he did for how he picked his victims. He had a chilling pattern that left Northern California in fear. So he kind of he operated in Northern California. His age range was between 16 and 29 years old. It was consistent in all of his attacks that were attributed to him, except for the last guy. I can't remember his age, but we'll get to that. He might have been 29, like the upper one. His preference for young victims suggested a desire to exploit vulnerability and innocence. He focused on victims residing in Northern California, particularly in the greater San Francisco area. His crimes spanned various locations, from secluded lovers' lanes to public areas, but they were all within that region. He preferred a scenario involving young couples parked in cars on lonely roads or secluded spots, which, again, since there's only 5 recorded, we don't really know. There's like, some say there's like 37 murders. Yeah, up to 37.
We'd have to look at the letter detail, but some of these killers too do claim that they killed a lot more people if they ever get caught or whatever. I mean, not in his case, but they claim and they never discover the bodies and things like that.
It's really apparent that his communication with through media and law enforcement was crucial. The aspect of his crimes. He sent, again, letters, cryptograms, and everything. It was a game that he liked. It seemed like he liked the game. Cat and mouse type of game. We're going to jump into the timeline now. Now this, again, writing this whole thing up, there's 18 pages of notes and stuff like that I put together for this, and it's just a lot.
So
go ahead.
Well, here, I was just going to say, are you still, we're just recording. So, there's a timeline I sent that might be a little easier to each crime scene we could kind of jump to.
That's the one you sent me, that one from last night. Yeah. So yeah, I used that as part of this. I just have a little more details in here. One thing I'll say, like, there's also so much more information out there. There's so many resources out there. I think I myself have like 20 or more resources for this because there's so much information. Some are good, some are bad. I mean, some of them are really well documented that use a lot of good primary resources. Some of them are, YouTube videos that are like us.
Isn't there like a series of like the people that are obsessed with this? Don't they have a name? Like because like Jack the Ripper has Ripperologist, and then Zodiac has Zodies.
I'm not. No, okay. I don't know.
Zodies.
I'm not sure what they're called, but that's a good question. But
I've never seen that somewhere at one point.
I'm sure there's something like that. There's also people that are probably in love with
amateur
him.
sleuths. Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And to bring up that point, that's a good point you just brought up, because a big part of the movie and the reason that it became so invested is that Robert Graysmith, the cartoonist for the San Francisco Chronicle, got obsessed with it himself.
And he wrote 2 books on that thing.
Exactly. He did.
He got divorced
about it because started working with the police, at least not directly, but tried to get as much information as he could for his books. But yeah, people seem to. There's something about this case that just draws people into it, about just how this guy was so elusive to find and how he kept just getting around the police's investigations for so many years. It's crazy.
And the taunting and like
demanding that he be shown in the newspaper, like put out there, and like using pieces, like you said, The Exorcist, pieces of pop culture to even give clues to himself. Perhaps we don't know that for sure, but it's definitely there. Like the Zodiac sign itself, the crosshair, and we can get into this later. This is Arthur Lee Allen had a Zodiac watch on. The Zodiac logo for the watch had the same crosshair. There's just little details like that he put in the letters that over time could have led to the suspect, but it's just don't know for sure.
Yeah, and I also think he thought he was smarter than everyone else because, like, I'm going to use these, cryptograms or cryptographs or whatever. And
He wrote his own alphabet essentially to try to write his own hidden messages. And I think within the second letter, or was it the first or second letter? Maybe you guys can correct me, but some housewife that was a
I think it's the first one. Yeah.
Yes, that's the first letter.
And then the subsequent ones got a little bit more harder to read. And then some people were saying like maybe he was putting fake stuff in there, or just like
throw them off to this city, try to confuse people, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big thing about this is the late 60s, and the media was also at a pitch, like a kind of news, and like the type of news that we know now is like opinion news is starting to take off, and it's just like kind of a perfect storm of other stuff going on in society where like there's more media outlets that are pushing it to get viewers, like that type of thing.
Sure.
And so and we're going to talk about that after the timeline. We're going to go through societal response and media response.
Yeah.
Again, there's so many different resources. All of our resources are in the show notes, but there's so much information out there. I'm sure I'll get something wrong or not say something or not fully explain it, and that's just because there's so much information.
This is still an unsolved case. There's a reason for that. Is because they haven't been able to pinpoint anything on this suspect to nail the case. It's a cold case.
Yeah, I know there wasn't any DNA around back then, but like,
Well, there was a lot of the crime scenes were handled inappropriately too.
Yeah.
And we can get through the timeline too. I don't want to keep holding that up, but we'll get into that detail where the clues weren't handled properly in some of these crime scenes.
I think that's common for for a lot of the crime scenes, especially back in this time.
Because they didn't know DNA was going to be.
They didn't know. They didn't know
it was coming.
Like it's like whenever they go back to like a murder house and they pop off the baseboards and they're like, hey, look at this blood down here. Like, why didn't you check for that 20 years ago?
Let's clean it up.
Yeah, or like it's underneath the floorboard.
Clean up my crime scene.
But they say, 20 years ago this person got murdered. We find blood underneath the floorboards all of a sudden. Now we can solve the case. But it's like they don't really know how to do that type of stuff or think about it that way.
I'm sure like 20 years from now, people look back and be like, what are they doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're going to be a Minority Report at that point. So,
I'm going to start here with again, although Zodiac was claimed himself to have committed 37 murders, investigators agree on 7 confirmed assault victims, 5 of whom died, 2 survived. So, specifically, David Arthur Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, they were 17 and 16. That was 68. We're going to go through each one of these a little more, but I'm just going to go over the main ones. Michael McGew, I think is how you say it. Darlene Elizabeth, that was 69. Brian Calvin Hartnell and Cecilia Ann Shepard, that was 69 as well. And then Paul Lee Stein, 29. That's at upper level, October of 69. So those are the ones that are specific. We're going to go through those. There's also other ones, which we'll talk about at the end, but I'm going to go through this in a timeline. It's going to be like first to last,
Yeah, he's like crime scene with,
Right, yeah. So the first one is the Lake Herman Road murders. Now, there's lots of claims that he started actually in 63. That his first murders were like as early as 1963.
Okay.
But there's not a lot there.
There's not a lot there. Plus, he didn't give clues, at least in these first letters, to any of those murders. That he might have said that there were previous murders, but nothing.
Oh, yeah.
63 and 66, I think, were the main ones that people were trying to pin on him. Anyway, the Lake Herman Road murders. This was December 20th, 1968, near Benicia, California. The victims were David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. They were out on their first dates to high school students 16 and 17 years old. They parked at a popular Lover's Lane spot.
Sinners.
They pulled to the side. They turned the lights out. They turned up the Bobby whatever 50s 60s.
Bop.
The 50s.
Bop.
Yeah, they're
doo-wop.
Yeah. They're trying to
the Bobby music. You think that were that whole like that like scary ghost story where like people at Lover's Lane, the hook hand thing? The
hook in the back of the car. Yeah. I mean, in this case, it wasn't a hook; it was a gun. But yes, I mean, yeah, it's terrible. But no, they ended up getting shot, right, Chris?
Yes.
Shot through the front,
Spoilers.
and then one of the people survived.
So the assailant approached the car and fired multiple shots, killing both David and Betty. Killed both of them. He fired a .22 caliber weapon, striking Faraday in the head and Jensen in the back as they tried to flee. The killer left the scene quickly after the shooting.
Oh, okay. It's the next one I'm thinking of. Okay.
I thought
Yes,
I thought the one guy survived and he went back.
That's the second
Shot him
one.
twice. Okay,
Second
sorry.
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
That's one of the other ones. Zodiac Killer, he claimed responsibility in letters to local newspapers. So he claimed the responsibility of this. Also, they were like the way that they were found were like running away. You know, so they knew they were running. They were shot in the back, or whatever.
He gave details about the crime scene enough to know.
Yes.
Did he call it in? Did he call in this one? The Zodiac himself?
Let me get to that.
Sorry.
Because I get him confused because he does call some in, some he doesn't, you know.
I keep
Not until
trying to-
later down the road, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
He might have called this one. Let me look at this. So the crime scene yielded physical evidence, including shell casings and footprints. Despite the investigation, Zodiac Killer's taunting letters, the case remains officially unsolved. The identity of who that specific killer is, if it is the Zodiac, obviously it's attributed to him, but it could be someone else. It marked the beginning of his pattern of targeting young couples and isolated. That's his modus operandi, his MO.
Mm-hmm.
The letters sent to newspapers included cryptic ciphers and messages of taunting authorities and claiming credit for this specific murder. And then we'll get into those in a minute. It was officially recognized as the first, his first recorded attack and killing. So the next would be the Blue Rock Springs murder. It's occurred in July 4th, 1969. So it was a couple months later. I mean, that was October to July. And it was in Vallejo, California, Blue Rock Springs Park specifically. The victims were Darlene Farron and Michael Magoo. I think I'm saying that not right.
Magoo or Magoo. Close enough.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, Darlene was fatally shot. Michael was survived with serious injuries, so he did survive. The attack took place around midnight while the victims were parked in a car at this makeout point, or whatever you would call it. The man approached the car, possibly driving a white car himself, and began shooting at the couple. Were you going to say something, Brian?
I was going to say Sinner's Lane. The Zodiac.
The Zodiac. The Zodies.
It's your boy, the Zodiac's here.
Go on.
The assailant fired multiple shots into the car, killing Darlene and seriously injuring Michael. He called the police from a payphone to report the crime, taunting the authorities and taking responsibility for the attack. He claimed responsibility in a series of cryptic letters as well, sent to the newspapers, including one that it contained a piece of Darlene's bloody shirt.
That's when he started sending clues to the news. Also, did you mention, I might have missed it, that he named himself the Zodiac in the second letter? Like he didn't give himself a name, I believe, in the first one.
We're gonna get to the letters.
Was it?
They still didn't go out yet.
Didn't he go back? So couple's in the car. I think they take these two to the hospital because she dies.
Yeah,
but
she died.
He went back to shoot him again, and I think he survived.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think this guy.
Yeah.
It might have been the next ones, but anyway. The next one's he stabbed. But so Michael provided a description of the attacker, describing him as a white male with flashlight and a hooded costume. He had a hood on. So August 1st, 1969, 3 letters purportedly from the Zodiac Killer were received by the Vallejo Times-Herald, San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. So that was July 4th, about a month later, after the murders. He sent these letters to the different newspapers. The letters described as being written by someone brooding and isolated, they say, specifically, which was credited or quoted by a psychiatrist who took credit, who kind of analyzed him. The letters specifically say that he takes credit for the Lake Herman murders and the Blue Rock Springs murders. Each letter included 1/3 of a 408 symbol cryptogram claimed by the killer to contain his identity. The killer threatened to continue killing lone individuals unless the cryptogram was published in each paper's front page. So the San Francisco Chronicle published its third on the cryptogram on the page 4 of the next day's edition. Vallejo Police Chief Jack E. Stiltz expressed skepticism about the letter's authenticity and requested a second letter with more facts to prove the killer's identity. The threatened murders did not occur, however, and eventually all 3 parts of the cryptogram were published. They didn't really publish them the next day like he wanted. They kind of they kind of waited.
Yep. And they also didn't give him the front page either. They gave him page 4.
Page 4, yeah.
So on August 7th, however, 1969, the San Francisco Examiner received a letter with the salutation, "Dear editor, this is the Zodiac speaking." This marked the first time the killer used the name the Zodiac, or Zodiac. The letter responded to Stilt's request for more details. So this is after that guy asked for more details, the police chief. Providing information about the murders not yet released to the public. The Zodiac mentioned that when the police crack the code, they will have me. So the following day, so it would have been April 8th, Donald and Betty Hardin of Selenius successfully decoded the 408 symbol cryptogram. The message contained misspelled references to The Most Dangerous Game, a 1924 short form by Richard Connell. The killer claimed to be committed to the murders, to collect slaves for his afterlife, and stated the world that he would not reveal his identity as it would hinder his slave collection. And this is what the letter said, this cryptogram.
Did you highlight it for me?
I'm doing that right now. It's in bold, but I'm going to highlight it for you, and you can go ahead and roll away. Swing away.
Oh, there it is.
I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing a wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your wild self with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and that all that I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting all the slaves for my afterlife, EBRTMIPTI.
So yes, it is. There was a bunch of jumbled letters at the end. I also want to point out, and I'll try to put this up on the screen, a screenshot of this image, that he does spell a lot of words incorrectly.
Yeah, I was trying to
for being so
the
smart.
best I could.
And I wonder if that's on purpose or that's because the cryptogram is analyzed incorrectly, maybe. But it seems like if you have some letters, you can get them all.
There was a big debate too. Like I'm assuming with people that follow the case is that did he have a spelling problem? Was he like dyslexic? Because there's several letters where he makes common spelling mistakes like over and over again. And some of the suspects were named to have like spelling errors and things like that in their writings.
And I think the way, from what I read, the way that the people who solved this, the way they solved it is they looked for the word kill, the 2 L's being next to each other, and they knew that that'd be common in there. And I think Zodiac, and so they looked for those common words and saw
wasn't I a big part of like
they knew that it would start with I at the beginning,
yeah,
because they called themselves the Zodiac, and they figured that kill would be in there, so they could just look for
double
things next to each other. Yeah,
and then you start breaking down each symbol. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, by process of elimination,
it seems like if we would have had this today, like it would just be like throw it in ChatGPT and be like, it'd have been done in 10. Yeah.
Commodore 64 computer array would take care of it in 5 seconds. Okay.
Yeah. All those ones you got back there. You just plug them all into each other.
They're all on one strip, and it's completely safe.
And you play what's that river raft game?
I play River Raid exclusively. I just set out for the new Pitfall. I'm looking forward to getting it soon.
So what you heard directly from the voice of the Zodiac is his cryptogram that he sent that was published in the 3 newspapers. All 3 of them were published. All 3 different parts were published together. And that led us to the next murder, however, which was September 27th, 1969. Not too much longer after this cryptogram was posted, the cipher was posted. This was in Lake Berryessa, Napa County, California.
You got it.
The victims were Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. So the couple was relaxing on the shore of Lake Berryessa when a man appeared holding a gun and wearing a hooded costume with a white crossed circle stitched over the chest. And it seems to be this one was in the daytime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is in the
So-
middle of the day.
It's it looked like an executioner's mask, didn't it?
Yeah,
Black.
like a
Yeah.
black hooded mask with the eyes cut out. Yeah.
So he was, or he came up and explained to them that he just escaped from prison and he needed money and a car to escape to Mexico. So he forced Brian and Cecilia to tie each other up with clothesline, but without warning. He was going to let him. He said, he was, "Give me the money, give me your car, tie you up, and then I'm going to take off and leave you guys alone." That's why they let him tie. That's why he tied each other up. They didn't run. So, but then as soon as they tied each other up, he stabbed the crap out of them.
Why would he say that though? Why would he say he's an escaped prisoner? That makes no sense.
He made a lot of false claims. Well, at least to the victims, supposed victims, that about who he was or what he was doing. I mean, for his, what were you saying, Jordan? Sorry.
Sorry, like, is he saying that in case they survived? Because some of them did, but it's just weird to me. They'd be like, "Hey, I'm an escaped prisoner." Like, why wouldn't that cause like them to be alert or like panic?
Either that, or in his mind, he could have said it to throw them off his own scent.
It's a game.
I think,
Right.
from what I read was that he did that to get them to drop their guard, so they weren't going to run away.
Right.
So they weren't going to try to escape. They'd be like, it's like kind of like if like,
That
oh,
makes
just
sense.
give me your wallet and I'll let you go.
Yeah,
Type
yeah,
of like when
okay.
if you
That
get
makes
robbed,
sense.
you
That
know.
makes
Why, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, if we just do this, then we'll be okay. So I think that's what it came down to, was he just kind of played. And next episode we'll get into his motives and we'll talk about. And I'm sure you probably have read all about like serial killers and like the kind of different types of serial killers, like the ones that do it for power, ones that do it for, different for lust, like the different reasons they do it. Yeah. So we'll go into that.
So
a
the
little
guy
bit.
in his bunker with all his computers.
Yeah.
Hey, the only thing I'd kill is
His
my
piss
high
computers.
score on fucking Harpanoid. Oh, don't bleep that.
Yeah. I will. The blood of your enemies runs these babies.
The blood of my enemies runs through my high scores on Centipede on these babies.
Back to the murders. After we're done joking around, gentlemen.
Perfect.
Cecilia and Brian stabbed right good with a large knife. Brian got stabbed 6 times,
Hi, Brian.
and Cecilia got stabbed 10 times. Both were fighting for their lives at the time with a very large knife. Although he said he had a gun, so why don't you just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's more fun with a knife. I don't know. The man was
It's more fun with a knife.
The man then walked to Brian's car and used a pen to draw a cross circle on the door with the dates, locations of previous attacks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And he,
Confirm or deny that things are more fun than life.
thank you, Zodiac. He carved into the side of the car it was Vallejo 12/20/68, 7/4/69, September 27th, 69, 6:30, and by knife. So that's what they say that's relating to his other murders.
Yeah.
To try to prove it.
Yeah.
So at 7:40 p.m., a man called the Napa Valley Police Department to report a double murder. The caller described Brian's car, directed police to the scene of the crime, and confessed, "I'm the one who did it." Police traced the call to a payphone at a car wash in Napa Valley. Cecilia died 2 days later, but Brian survived.
You have 2 survivors, right?
2 survivors.
Yeah.
So far.
Yes. So Brian survived the attack and provided all the information. That's how we know what happened, why they walked up on him, why they let their guard down.
Well, the way, like the fact that what he was wearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, a detail in the film that I didn't notice in the notes, and this might be something that Brian might have said, or they might have just provided. When they were tied up, he asked the Zodiac, "Just so I know," to tell the police, "Was that gun loaded?" And Zodiac takes out his clip and literally shows him a full clip of bullets before he put it back in and stabbed them.
Apparently, that movie is like incredibly accurate. There's only a few things that were like.
That's why I get obsessed with it, because I was just like, I enjoyed it so much that I found it so interesting about all these details of again, how they couldn't find this guy with all these details of these crime scenes. So
The Zodiac Killer claimed responsibility for the Lake Berryessa murder in letters to the media describing specific details of the crime that only the killer would know. He left, the Zodiac symbol left at the crime scene as well as the survivors count contributed to the overall investigation. So it also went with his MO that he murdered tendency to wear disguises and use elaborate plans for his attacks. Young lovers he killed liked his target, and then he liked to taunt everybody afterwards, specifically calling the police and being like, "This happened."
Do you think he was the type of serial killer that like would show up to a scene of a crime? Because that's
Like, hang on
Like
the
check
back row.
things out afterward.
yeah. I think it's not kind of like an MO over the last serial killers. Like they show up and like, hey, how can I help? What can I do to help?
A specific type.
Yeah.
A big thing is they want to a lot of them want to be caught or leave clues for themselves. Like he was an odd case in that he did leave clues behind for himself, but only so obscure that he didn't want to be discovered. Right. Like it's just like he just wanted to play a game. It was he never actually wanted to get caught, but he just wanted to play a game.
It's definitely a recognition thing though, right? Like
for sure.
The fact that he's even doing these
giving
letters.
himself
like,
a name and everything in the newspaper. For sure.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, like, as terrible as he was, it was just a marketing thing.
Yeah.
Because if you look at, like, did you ever look up the Gilgo Beach murders? Did you ever hear about that, Brian?
I've heard of it, but I hadn't.
They just solved it, like, last summer. Like, it was all these murders, and it, like, the dude was just, he had, like, a box of cell phones, and, like, his kid and his wife had no idea, and he kind of gave himself up with cell phone. Like, he was just so good at it this is, like, I think it was, like, 20 years or something. He was killing all these people. Tons, and they were just all being dumped in the same area.
What blows my mind is that someone, because you brought up BTK not too long ago, the way that they caught him over a period of how many years, like 20 years, whatever it was.
It's insane. Yeah, a long time.
They discovered on one of the things that he sent in, one of the discs, I think it was a letter or something saying like if you send us a copy of your manifesto, whatever you wanted to send us on a disc, we cannot trace it. We won't be able to trace it. And he just bought it. He was like, sure. So he sent a copy on a zip disk, I think it was, or something like that, to the FBI. They scanned it with their tools and discovered it was coming from a church computer. And they tracked.
Wait, they can do that?
Oh yeah.
Hold on.
Put your foot down. No, they discovered it was on a church computer and discovered his name via I think it was going to erase like either letterhead or Excel head, whatever it was, and discovered all his information from that. So that's why when I see that he's leaving all these hints and all these different crime scenes, as you said, they might not be connected, all these different crimes, but I am just shocked that there was not one detail that could point to a guy to lock him in, at least get him behind bars. So,
right.
I mean, again, everything was so disconnected back then. Even in the 60s, people were just...
Well, wasn't there an issue with like Vallejo cooperating
I was going to say
with
the different counties too. Yeah,
we'll go into
with one another.
how the police just were terrible at working together, and I think that's just general. Like, also that's brought up later, and I'll jump a little ahead, but like, there's a lot of like people saying, and specifically like even the most recent 2020 data where they basically said, hey, we know who it is. This is the DNA evidence, whether that's the actual killer, but it's DNA related to this person that they found. They were just like, they basically go in after the police and everything. And they look, you guys are so bad at this. Look, we found all this stuff, and you just basically swept it under the rug. The FBI, and then someone else was like, who came like a rebuttal was like, they have so many police with mountains of paperwork, mountains of clues, hundreds and thousands of calls coming in for certain things. Like, there's so much information that it's hard to actually boil it down and find out what's actually important.
Well, yeah. Also, weren't there like thousands of people that were actually considered?
Yeah,
like they generally looked at as being a possible like
any murder.
suspect.
It's not like no murders were happening.
Yeah,
there was tons of other murders going on.
They're just like bogged down.
It's just, and a lot of them went on, unsolved, and there was a lot of other people running around doing this stuff.
Yeah,
not specifically, but they weren't marketing as well.
Guy, yeah.
They weren't good at marketing themselves.
He had good PR.
Yeah.
There were also false letters, I think, a few times too, and
sure, yeah.
Oh,
tons of false reports. Yeah.
Well, you brought up the callers into that show, I think, before. Like, a lot of the calls that were into that show are not him, from the original show, and we'll go over that.
Yeah, a lot of big claims, any public claims other than the letters that they were making the Zodiac appearance, whether it was like a radio show or whatever, turned out to be a false claim in the end.
Yep. Yeah, there's tons of, and there's, even today that happens. Even today with all the technology we have, people still will claim or go after. You have someone who gets like their family member gets murdered or something, and crazy people will go after that person.
Yeah,
there's a lot of cases of that. But like go and like mess with them and stuff just because there's insane people out there.
It's crazy too because you bring up the whole thing of the collaboration between the police departments and the lack thereof, right? Especially now with the internet, you bring up a good point. Collaboration would have helped a little bit in this case, a lot in this case.
I mean, a lot.
Yeah, no, with the breakdown and everything, but at the same time, exposure to this kind of information and this kind of case, more copycats, more false information.
Oh yeah, sure.
How many conspiracy theories now on the internet would have existed? Dude, it would have been out of.
I mean, think about the murders now that we have. That there's a lot of conspiracy theories. Like, go on YouTube and type in anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. Like
any conspiracy. Like, there's so much. Like, type in any murder. Like recent.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, if that's spreading of information, people find out about
information or misinformation, right?
Misinformation. Exactly. Yeah,
It's
misinformation.
hard to know. It's like these buzzwords like the war on information or whatever this internet is. It's to a degree it is true because you don't know who to believe unless you know them personally.
A reporter could get a hold of something that like the police aren't really considering, but like they have to look into, and that could be like blown out of proportion.
Verification,
like
all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
like you were talking about earlier on, like this is kind of an area where we start getting into not sensationalism, but like bigger news cycle, longer news cycle,
and more spread out. Because it was like because TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, we didn't have the communication methods we had now. So the FBI and these different police stations will actually communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're entering all this stuff into a database.
Right. Yeah.
They're just entering it into a folder.
Yeah.
And then sharing that folder is like, if I give this person my folder or make copies of it, which probably didn't even work that well anyway, how are they going to take that data and like, there's no way to put all that data together and then like get actual workable data out of it, share it with the FBI. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Like there's just no way to operate together like we do today. We just see that today.
Yeah, secure way, I guess.
Secure and way that doesn't get dropped in someone's desk and they never look at it for 6 months because they're looking at 20 other cases.
Right. Yeah.
But let's jump to the last documented murder of our boy, the Zodiac, Big Z.
Big Z.
Z-boy.
Z.
The Z-boy. This is the
film Dog Killed Z-boy starring the Zodiac. That's actually not true. This is all in my mind. I am the Zodiac speaking. Thank you.
You think Zodiac was Zodiac ever in a Marvel? You would know this. Ever in a Marvel like character?
Wait, was he an actual like character
used in Marvel? Did Marvel turn him into a character?
I don't know.
Oh, some kind of like variation of that, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point.
Like that big like Marvel encyclopedia that we have. Used to have. You have one too. I think
I have two of them now.
Like
Liam had one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I bet you because there
has to be some. Yeah. There has to be like you were saying how big of a case this was. It was in the zeitgeist of everybody. Like it's spewed into popular culture. It was on everyone's mind. So I wouldn't be surprised at some point like DC or Marvel. Like
I guarantee you, like probably what's his name, like Carnage. Like that guy's probably based on that type of thing.
A serial killer, yeah. I mean,
he was a serial killer.
Cassie, yeah.
But like, I don't know if they probably based it on it.
Yeah.
When that was written, it was like, oh, this is really popular. Let's put this in it.
I think it came around in the 90s. But yeah. I mean, I'm sure there had to been something. Yeah.
Here's a question for you guys.
Okay.
Question.
Okay.
Do you think in our day and age now, a killer like this could exist and not be found?
So I wanted to bring this up. I don't understand how today someone could get away with that, with DNA being a thing, smartphones, like cameras and surveillance. But like, apparently there's like, remember scenes, I don't know where I heard this. I don't know if it's factual, but there's like, as right now in America, there's like 15, 20 serial killers going around right now. At any
given time.
But how are they, like, I just don't understand how you can do that. Unless you're like out in the middle of nowhere doing this stuff, but like, it just blows my mind.
There has to be some limit of communication in that area, whether that's in the neighborhood or if that's
Pacific
surveillance,
Northwest,
like you said, or anything, because at some point there's going to be a trace of this person.
Right. Yeah. That person, the murderer or the murderee or the victim would have a cell phone or some kind of smart device on them, or like
some kind of link, right?
Something. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, that's what happened to the Gilgo Beach murder.
Yeah.
He actually called the family of the people he murdered and made fun of them.
It wasn't like the happy face murder thing a recent thing too. Did you guys hear about that?
I've heard of this. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in the past like 10 years, and like they haven't caught that person.
I mean, you figure how many people on it. Okay, so if they're tracking a phone,
it's weird to me that
they're tracking a phone, right? They're pinging all these phones. First off, Verizon doesn't, or whoever's not going to give that stuff up very easily. They're going to have a court order and stuff.
Sure.
But then think how many people are in the vicinity of a cell tower.
Right.
Yeah, and so they could limit it down. But if that person's smart enough not to use a burner phone,
yeah,
or just leaves their phone at home,
the people who are doing this have to be like. I
mean, you have to be smart enough to just leave your phone at home.
You have to be like John Doe, basically. You have to be off the books.
Well, you also be like highly intelligent, I would imagine, or like at least know how this stuff works.
Leave your phone at home.
Not necessarily that.
You got to be really smart to leave this phone at home.
We have to know, like, I feel like you have to know all these different factors of like how you won't get caught.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have to know all the different vectors. There's more vectors now.
Which is why people doing podcasts like this are helping breed.
Yeah, making it worse. We only make things worse.
Sorry,
Zodiac speaking. I've posted this on X, and by doing this, you know it's me because I'm blue check marked. This is the Zodiac. Please help me go to my GoFundMe to get me a new Pixel phone. This is the Zodiac. Thank you.
I'm tired of using a burner. But like, do you think if Zodiac was doing this stuff today, he would have been caught?
Oh, definitely. If he was this cocky at this point.
Yeah, sending letters and stuff.
Yeah. This notebook paper is from, a tree out in the Midwest. Because they have cameras
at everywhere.
That's what I'm saying. But how are people not getting caught?
I've seen a guy on a social media video doing GeoGuessr that literally found someone's shoe on the opposite side of the country via a picture. It's possible. Yeah. People can find people now.
Yeah, every gas station has multiple cameras. But still, people go missing.
Right. Yeah, it's still happening. Like, there's those two girls that were there's a Snapchat of them, a video out there on the internet. They're walking down some train tracks. I think it was like West Virginia, and some guy was following them. And they have a video of the guy. They can't find. These girls disappeared. I think they might be dead. But there's a video of this guy following them, and they can't solve this case.
They can't pinpoint where that video was.
No,
or did they?
Not. No, they did. I think they want to cross a bridge on some railroad tracks, but they can't find the girls and they can't find the guy.
So they have the location, but they just don't know where the people went.
I guess.
So all you have to do is break their phones.
I haven't kept up with it, but I know there's a part where people are like, "How has this guy not been found?" He's clearly in the video following these girls on a train track.
Does he have his phone with him?
He's on video. These girls are like, no, he's being followed, so they decide to cast us on Snapchat or one of these Facebook.
Oh, so they film behind them or something?
Yeah, they're like, this guy's following us, it's creeping us out. Like, I don't know, it hasn't been solved. It's weird to me.
It seems like you're trying to figure out
these
how
girls,
are we gonna set
these girls
this
know
up?
who I am.
Remember we used to walk on the train tracks?
Yeah, it was great. Remember we found that hobo camp?
Yeah. And we were like, oh my God, run. And then
me when they went across the train track.
Yeah.
I remember that. Which is, by the way.
There was a recently put out fire.
Yeah. And then we went and got tacos afterwards.
Yeah, that was great. Great day.
We saw some hobo camp and then went and got tacos.
We didn't die. It was
yeah,
cool.
We're fine.
Wait, what happened exactly?
Yeah.
There's one where it's at school or
college.
Our college was near old, coal
mines. It was on a river. It was in a
river.
In a river. A lot of coal mines.
So we used to walk this is when in grad school.
Yeah.
We walked the train tracks. I don't know, because they're killing time, and we're walking down.
Literally nothing else to do.
Nothing else to do. I'm like, oh, what's this? We saw this little, it's not a trail, but this short little brief, stomp down. You could tell, people have been walking over it for quite some time.
It's a trail.
Yeah, but not, I don't know. It wasn't you're not in a park. It wasn't. That's a trail, done it. It's not like an actual park, but it's just you could tell
a walking
foot
path.
Traffic. So we go up to it, and then oh, there's a couple tents here. Yeah. There's a recently put out fire. It's still smoking.
Yeah.
And we're we have to get the hell out. Weren't there
there was a swing into the river though too.
Yeah, that wasn't near that, but there's did we see some weird stuff around there too? I know we could be wrong.
There's a lot of abandoned mines we went into and stuff.
But at the encampment. Anyways.
Hey, you guys remember when that we discovered that ancient idol in the cave behind school?
Yeah, and then that boulder chased us, and we had to run. And then Short Round saved us.
There was that one summer we had literally nothing to do, and we went and bought blow up rafts at Big Lots.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're going to put these in the Major River. And we're like, no, we're probably going to die.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do that. And then we're just like, let's just go to the bar instead.
Smart move.
It was just too hot out.
But I mean, that could have been a place where we could have been killed by a serial killer.
I don't know. I mean, at that point, you just have to run faster
That
than
could
me.
just be anywhere, Jordan.
That's a good point. I'm saying,
Yeah, remember the...
you could be killed literally anywhere, Jordan.
I mean, remember the...
You're right.
Remember
I'm
the,
saying that'd be a good spot.
The DC sniper.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story. I remember being in college when that was going on.
Yeah.
A freshman in college. It was like super crazy. Like people were like, we don't know who this is. And it's just a guy in his trunk.
Was he with his kid?
His son.
Yeah.
Someone was driving,
someone.
someone shooting, yeah. But it was like super crazy. Like just randomly was in a parking lot shooting people.
Was that long ago that happened?
2002, yeah.
Oh my
2001,
God.
2002.
No, it wasn't that.
Yeah, I was in college. It was 2003 maybe.
Okay.
Because I remember we watched it in our dorm room, me and our one friend who lived together freshman year of college. Bob.
You know the Eric Andre, that comedian? I saw a stand-up of his, and he was like, here's a photo of me and my dad, and he just put up a DC sniper.
He's super
good.
funny.
Wow.
That's good.
All right, we should probably get back to this guy.
Yeah.
Old Z boy.
So wait,
Big Z.
This is the last.
This is the last
Zed.
confirmed murder. Although there's others that they say could be attributed to him, but this is
the
Paul
one we know for
Stein.
sure, yeah.
This is the one that's kind of it's attributed to him, but it's also not his MO, which is weird. So he's in Presidio Heights, which is part of San Francisco, California. It's a neighborhood. Paul Stein was a cab driver.
Oh right, yeah.
Yes, and he picked up the Zodiac Killer, supposedly, as a fare and intended to drive him to a destination. The assailant, whether it was Zodiac Killer, everybody says it is him, shot Paul in the head multiple times inside the taxi. After the shooting, the killer took personal items from Stein, including a portion of a bloody shirt,
Sure.
and he took off. There was 2 teenage witnesses that observed the crime and provided a detailed description of the suspect.
Sorry, where did this happen? Was this in?
This was in California, Presidio Heights, which is in San Francisco.
Yeah, it was like a late, I think it was like almost like midnight or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. He's like in a city though, right? It wasn't
Yes,
like
he was in a
okay.
city. He was in a neighborhood.
Suburb, neighborhood, yeah.
Which is why he doesn't really go with his MO, because like it's an old person, an older guy,
Yeah.
not a young couple, and he just like
Yeah, these people aren't alone when he's doing this.
October 11th, 1969. Prior to that, his last murder was September 27th. So it's not very much past that. So there is like, sometimes serial killers go through these cycles where they're like, they kill a whole bunch and then they go to like kind of like sleep, or they like satiate themselves and then they come back out around and kill a bunch of people.
I know I keep saying this, man. Jack the Ripper. There's a lot of similarities with these two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jack the Ripper took a almost several month break, and then like his last victim was like super brutal.
Yeah, he kind of builds up.
It's kind of like not the same, but also like you tell he did it with that victim. But
I think the like we said in one of our shorts, there's just so much blood involved in that murder.
that's what I'm
And every person that died by him was just blood.
Yeah.
And how do they not find him?
Do they know if this gun was the same caliber as like the
It was all 22.
all 22? All
Yeah.
right.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, isn't the idea of like bullet, where they kind of evaluate the bullet and be like, oh, this bullet definitely came from this gun? Isn't that all been proven to be like not really?
I don't know how they figured that out.
What, ballistics?
Yeah, like is that
I don't
actually
know
real?
how that
Like
works.
ballistics, not like the trajectory of the gun,
Well,
but like
the
actually
bullet came
this
from
bullet
this
came from this
particular
gun
gun.
that this guy has on him now.
Specific gun though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know if you'd be able
I don't
to
know
do
how they
that
do that.
because there's nothing to distinguish like an individual bullet from a gun.
Well, they could say it. The way that I've always understood it is like it's like
Came from an exact gun though, right?
well, they could say like the bullet, like the pin on the gun hit it at this very specific spot, and it's like 22 meter, 1 millimeter up,
I see
and
what
say
you're
like,
saying.
oh, this is, but you have to have the casing at that point too, and so then you could say the casing came from this bullet.
Exactly. If I see what you're saying. If the pinhead hits the casing, then that can determine by the type of gun how the pinhead hits what.
Right, and he's saying that every pinhead is a little different the way it's manufactured.
Oh, really?
They
So if the same
but I
like
think that
exact
doesn't-
same like brand of gun,
Could have very slight variations
Okay.
in the forging.
Okay, I
But
never understood
because they could
that.
also be like, one could be over to the left a little bit. One
Sure.
could be like, you know, a quarter of a millimeter to the left, and be just a little bit.
I never understood because like some of these guns are like mass produced.
Right, and I think still just the way they're put together could. I get
That makes sense that they would do that though for stuff like this.
but I don't know if that's actually. I don't know if that holds up in court of law.
Yeah.
I think it's like kind of like a Hollywood thing because the like there's lots of things that don't technically hold up in court of law anymore.
Yeah.
So, like obviously lie detectors don't because they're stupid as hell. I still can't believe those use this. It's so stupid. Unless they actually did.
Because you
I don't
failed
know.
a bunch.
I'm like, I can't believe they caught me with that. No, I just think that the way that they work is so stupid. It's based on like
served a nickel.
and if you go back to like the history of it, like look up the history of it, it's the way that was developed was like super dumb.
Guys, I never tell a lie. Right? Just look it up in my letters. That's
Do you have a George Costanza setting on there? You can put.
I have a couple different ones. I got the trailer guy, I got the AI. I have my anime voice if you'd like to hear something in anime. What would you like to hear?
I'm gonna hear the trailer guy.
Trailer guy? What do you want to hear? Okay.
In a world.
In San Francisco, 1960.
This is definitely the History Channel guy.
Hey, Liv Schreiber did that for a while.
A bunch of teenagers just wanted to go back to the park to have a good time. Unfortunately, there was a guy back there who'd like to wear a crosshair and all that. And he stabbed a bunch of people. Jordan, please stop looking at your phone. I know what you're doing. Thank you. Okay, that's it.
That's all I got.
So, back to Paul. Old dead Paul. Poor guy. Crime scene yielded physical evidence, including fingerprints and the recovered bloodied shirt, which Zodiac took part of. Paul was murdered in his taxi, so there was blood splatter and everything. There was a lot of stuff they could look at. They kind of knew exactly what happened. There was eyewitnesses, but they still could not figure out where this guy was. Like, I still think it's crazy that blood would have splattered on him too.
Yeah. Like,
So this
witnesses saw him leaving the cab covered in blood.
Right. So this this specific murder was a significant event, they say, in Zodiac's crime spree because it marked a brazen attack on a taxi driver. It marked a brazen attack on a taxi driver within a more urban setting, and the killer's ability to elude identification, despite the eyewitness accounts and evidence, was notable. So he was like, I can't believe they still got away, even though he did this in a modern
something
setting.
triggered him to like act differently, like to act out differently like that?
The question is like between those two killings, which was a period of a month, actually not even a month, I'd say a couple weeks.
It's 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
So what could have triggered him to want to murder somebody what break his pattern essentially? Is it something to throw off his scent, or is it something he just decided to do entirely on his own? We don't know.
Or is his hunger getting like not hunger, but like is he getting more?
I wonder if there was another murder. He was on his way home from a failed murder where he like had these two groups. Maybe the kids took off before he like just about to shoot him, and then he was so angry about that he just took it out his driver.
Okay, yeah.
That type of thing.
I think it was BTK or one of the killers that said he waited for somebody, this woman in her home over, and she never showed up. Yeah,
it was BTK. Yep.
And so he got frustrated and left. And if it wasn't for,
it was Jordan. Yeah,
I mean, that wasn't. No,
it was Jordan. It was Jordan. Jordan.
No.
He's like, no, it was me. I just wanted a sandwich. I left.
I just wanted to let you guys know it was me. You guys didn't understand. You guys didn't get my cryptographs right.
You guys didn't solve my Sudoku. You're dead.
Yeah, it's Sudoku.
So there was a letter sent it was postmarked on October 13th, 1969, claimed responsibility for the murder of Paul Stein. The letter was sent to the Chronicle again. The writer mocked the police for failing to catch him and threatened to shoot children on a school bus. The envelope contained a piece of the bloodstained shirt belonging to Paul Stein. The crime scene itself yielded physical evidence, including fingerprints and recovered bloody shirts, obviously. So we're going to jump to the next letter that he sends, because technically he's done killing on which is recorded as like known his murders. Like Paul Stein was his last one, they say. There's a lot of other ones we'll talk about. So on November 8th, there was another letter sent. It was postmarked November 8th, containing a piece of the cab driver's shirt again. It was a greeting card and another cipher consisting of 340 symbols. The writer added, Des, July, August, September, October equals 7, which is a possible reference to more unidentified victims. So that cipher, which the 340 cipher, 340 cipher was actually, I think, which we'll go over later, was actually just solved. I think it's 2020.
Okay.
2016. It was recently solved generally. But it doesn't, apparently the solved part of it doesn't actually, like, it doesn't show who he is still or point to anybody. There was another 7-page letter sent to the Chronicle it was postmarked November 9th, 1969. This is the longest message from the Zodiac, claimed that the police stopped him near a crime scene but let him go. Zodiac also included a bomb recipe and diagram of the explosive.
What, he's a bomb recipe?
A bomb recipe and a diagram of the explosive.
Like where it is, or like what it looks like?
What it'll look like.
Okay.
Yeah. Like plans. There was another letter addressed to famous attorney Melvin Belly, postmarked on December 20th, 1969. The writer feared he would kill again and asked Belli to intercede. The letter ended with,
Please help me. I cannot remain in control for much longer.
Thank you, Mr. Zodiac.
You're welcome.
So that's the kind of another grouping of letters. We got some more letters coming up, which is crazy because he kind of it seems like he stopped killing maybe and then just started writing letters, which seems crazy. I don't know. But we'll go into more details later. So there was another incident, but it didn't end up in a murder. And it could be loosely attributed to the Zodiac. So there was on Sunday, in March, 22-year-old Kathleen Johns embarked on a trip from San Bernardino, California to visit her sick mother in Petaluma, in northern part of the state. Kathleen, who was 7 months pregnant with her longtime boyfriend's child, traveled on the Highway 132 near Modesto. So while driving, another vehicle pulled alongside Kathleen's station wagon, and the driver signaled for her to pull over. Driver, seemingly helpful, claimed the back wheel of Kathleen's station wagon was loose and offered to fix it. Instead, he loosened the lug nuts, causing the wheel to fall off when Kathleen attempted to drive away.
Oh, yeah, that was in the movie.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
The man then offered to drive Kathleen to a gas station, but upon entering his car, she realized he had different intentions. Kathleen claimed the man made veiled threats to harm her child during the encounter. So he also kept driving past.
Yeah, she's like, what about this place? And
Yeah, he just kept driving. Yeah.
He's like, oh, that's not a good one. That's not open.
She eventually grabbed her,
Didn't she already have a kid?
Yeah. So I guess she was also pregnant.
She was pregnant and she had a little kid.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm sorry. She did have a kid with her. That's where I was confused. Realizing what was going on at an intersection, she jumped out, grabbed her daughter, jumped out of the car. When he slowed down, she hid in a field.
Yeah.
And then he eventually took off.
Apparently, when it came out with like a flashlight looking around for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm basing this off the movie. I don't know if this is factual or not.
A passing driver took Kathleen to a nearby police station where she identified the stranger from a police sketch of the Zodiac Killer. The incident was reported to law enforcement, documenting the attempted abduction by someone resembling the Zodiac Killer. However, months later, a letter from the Zodiac mentioned a rather interesting ride with a woman and her baby, potentially alluding to the encounter with Kathleen Johns. So he's getting kind of sloppy, maybe.
Yeah.
Or did she think that it was a Zodiac because of what was going on in media and society?
Yeah, maybe she thought it. It might have not have actually been the Zodiac, but then she saw like a sketch of him and was like, oh, that was a Zodiac.
Yeah.
Like she
What's that
worked
called?
up.
Bias, victim bias, or whatever. There was a lot of research done on like the amount of time that passes, even like
recency bias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like right when something happens, most of the time the people are wrong, like get it wrong. There was an episode of a show, I think it's called something Science. Remember we used to watch it in the summer camps we used to teach. And like when the car drove through the intersection and like the people were like, "Oh, what'd you see?" And they're like naming the wrong color car, naming the wrong driver.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like it was just like right when it happens. Anyway, there was another letter sent to the Chronicle postmarked April 20th, 1970. The writer wrote, "My name is blank," followed by a 13-character cipher that has not been solved to this day. So this is the last cipher, 13 characters. Although there was a recent person, a guy from France, that said he solved it. He was a computer programmer.
Yeah.
But we'll go into that later. Zodiac went on to state that he was not responsible for the recent bombing of a police station in San Francisco, referring to the February 18th, 1970 death of Sergeant Brian McDonnell, 2 days after the bombing at the Park Station in Golden Gate Park. But added, there is more glory to killing a cop than a SID, because a cop can't shoot back. Not sure what that means.
Cop can't shoot back?
Oh, he's saying it's sick is said in context. He's saying there's more glory to killing a cop than a kid because a cop can shoot back.
Right.
He misspelled it.
The letter included this letter included a diagram of the bomb the Zodiac claimed that he would use to blow up a school bus. At the bottom of the diagram, he wrote equals 10 SFPD equals 0.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm guessing is Zodiac 10 SFPD.
SFP, like
0.
Sunscreen?
Yes, SPF 0.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
San Francisco
Zodiac believes in that.
Sunblock, yeah. On April 28th, 1970, there was a greeting card to the Chronicle, postmarked April 28th. Inside the card, the Zodiac demanded publication of his bomb threats and insisted the people of San Francisco Bay Area wear Zodiac buttons, featuring his chosen symbol, the crossed circle.
Wear my fashion, I'm the Zodiac, all my stuff's the latest trend. Thank you.
Did they sell that at Forever 21 or one of those stores? Like
Forever Zodiac.
In June 26th, there was another letter to the Chronicle containing a map of San Francisco Bay with a cross circle on the peak of Mount Diablo and a code to locate the Zodiac's bomb the writer claimed he killed again.
But again, there's no proof.
Right. There was another letter sent to the Chronicle on July 24th, 1970. The Zodiac complained that people weren't wearing his cross circle Zodiac buttons and claimed that he was responsible for the failed abduction of a pregnant mother, Kathleen Johns, on March 27th, 1970. On July 26, 1970, 5-page letter sent to the Chronicle. The Zodiac described torturing his victims and quoted from the Gilbert and Sullivan musical, The Mikado. The letter also explained that the Mount Diablo code concerned geometric angles known as radians. So there's another incident here, the Lake Tahoe incident that's considered possibly Zodiac. Was a postcard attributed to the Zodiac featuring an advertisement for a condominium project in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, with the phrases "past Lake Tahoe areas" and "sought victim 12." Some interpreted the cryptic message as a clue to the disappearance of 25-year-old Donna Lass. And in May 1970, Donna was working in San Francisco at Letterman General Hospital, located in Presidio military base near the area where the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac killed the cab driver. So, September 6th, Donna vanished. And the last entry in her work logbook at 1:50 a.m. Her car was found abandoned near her apartment. According to some accounts, an identified man called Donna's employer and her landlord, claiming she had to leave town due to the family emergency. That's all they had. The final Zodiac letter, which was sent to the Chronicle, postmarked January 29th, 1974. After the Lake Tahoe card, the Zodiac remained silent for nearly 3 years. The Chronicle then received a letter from the Zodiac, postmarked January 29th, 1974, praising the film The Exorcist as the best satirical comedy that I'd ever
Satirical
seen.
comedy.
Yeah.
The letter included a snippet of a verse from the Mikado and an unusual symbol at the bottom that has remained unexplained by researchers. Zodiac concluded the letter with the new score, me 37, SFPD 0.
Hey guys, this is Zodiac Station, by the way. Did you guys ever see the film Repossessed with Leslie Nielsen, where he plays out parody of The Exorcist?
Is that Dead and Loving It?
No, that's not And Loving It. No, that's another film. This is Repossessed with Linda Blair of The Exorcist and Leslie Nielsen of Naked Gun fame. It's also their favorite. This Zodiac speaking.
Zodiac speaking.
Repossessed.
Repossessed. Great film. Look it up.
It's a film. Yeah. A film.
Cinema.
A cinema. Okay, so that's all the general things that are related to him. There are other suspected victims, such as Sherry Jo Bates, 1966. It's going back. Was murdered in Riverside, California, in 1966. Though not initially attributed to the Zodiac, some believe that the killer may have been involved due to the similarities in the crime and the later letters claiming responsibility. So
this is before he decided to go on his rampage or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And it's not specifically, not conclusively directed at him. Like, although he takes credit for what they say, they can't really point that it's him.
The age fits.
Yeah, like some of the MO fits, but like there was then Kathleen Johns, 1970, which again attempted. Donna Lass, 1970, and we went over that. Lake Tahoe, again, could be, couldn't be. And then the other one is 1963, which was a really early one. Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards. They say that this predates the original Zodiac timeline. Some theories suggest a connection between the Zodiac Killer and the murders of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards in Santa Barbara County. So they say it's loosely based on the MO, based on what he was doing. Yeah. It could be him. Because it was a couple in the area, what they were doing, that type of thing. So that's the timeline of what we have.
Okay.
Before we end this, which is a long baby here, I want to kind of go over just quickly societal media and the media response and societal response to what was going on, because they were pretty interesting based on building like the narrative, what this guy was going through, what he was doing, and really the mark he left on American society. We talked about this at the very beginning. You know, during this time, these murders and letters led to widespread fear. People became afraid to go out at night, especially young adults.
Yeah.
It became a media sensation, which we'll go over, because again, they were hyping it up in some ways. Also, talking about the news, talking about what was going on, but it seemed to be such a big thing in media, which we'll go over. It really pushed forensic science forward because they were trying to solve this so hard. They were inventing new methods. They created this environment of advanced forensic science that law enforcement were really intensifying their efforts to become better at forensic science. This also, in society, this event, the Zodiac Killer, kind of started, they say, people believe, this was kind of the first thing that started this true crime craze that is still continuing to this day.
Sure.
Especially between the 70s and 90s. It was called the Golden Age of Serial Murder.
That's nice.
The good old days.
People like...
when you get away with stuff.
Well, it included people like Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Sure.
What's that guy, the clown one? You know?
Bill like Gacy.
Oh,
Gacy, yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, like, there's a lot of theories about like what was going on in society. Why are all the serial killers, like really the big ones, the most prolific ones in that era? 80s, 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
What was going on in society at that time that created them? Was it like the idea of when we started to, when society, in American society especially, started to they stopped relying on surviving, and we started to like be bored. Like we had a chance to be bored.
But also like you mentioned, like,
but also like trying to be a human being and friendly toward one another. That's kind of what we're trying to achieve, right?
Yeah, exactly. But they didn't, like right now, we're especially going through this right now. People have so many distractions, but they also have things done for them so easily that like people have the ability to be
you
bored.
can say it, but also, like it's much more prevalent when like the news start talking about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Like, the television, particularly with the Vietnam War, became huge because that's the first time, at least with the Vietnam War, people actually saw what was going on during war.
Yeah.
All the atrocities of war. Given you're looking at bad images, but like it helped television.
Sensitize people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of sensitize people. Like I guarantee people were already doing this stuff prior to the Zodiac, but now with television being popular as television widespread as it was in everyone's home, like I think it's probably the first time this was broadcasted nationally, something like this. So I get what you're saying as far as like, people aren't capable of surviving on like that kind
They
of
have free time.
Yeah. I do think that's probably part of it. I think it's a bit of both though.
Combination of just modern society.
Yeah. Because look at the internet, like it's supposed to be like this great thing, and then like look what we do with it now.
And that's everything.
Yeah,
That's exactly what we're doing right now.
That's what I'm saying. That's what happened with television. That's what happened with radio, with television. Yeah.
I think any kind of exposure to information, whether that's good or bad, has a cause and effect, right? But
Sure.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
when it comes to the subject of killers and information spread, it's interesting to think about when you think about what was then versus now. Like if you, like we talked this earlier, but like all the reports of people that could possibly be the killer, all the information that could be coming in from the crime scene, what access people have to these, even like your average person now, what access would they have to like surveillance footage or like something like that they could pick up on a person's clues. It's weird to think about, but yeah, I think that it is a phenomenon for back then because of the how fast he did it, like how quick he did it and how undetected he was and how cocky he was with the letters and everything. And the other thing of it was just like the level of suspects, like you said, is like, you don't know, like there are a lot of clues that lead to certain suspects in this case, but it's so open to be a phantom killer that it's hard to pinpoint who and where and what and why.
Do you think he had to be fast, or do you think it was like it was satisfying an urge?
I think he didn't have to be fast. I think he was satisfying his own urges, but he was also, it's hard to say because like you said, his pattern changed over time. So you don't know if that was something that he intended or if it's something that just happened to him over time because he was doing these killings. That fits into like the psychology of it, like of why he's doing it. But
right, clearly he's doing this and wants to be known that he's doing it, like to see his own gratification.
He wants people to know he's doing it.
Yeah.
So this goes into the last topic that I wanted to bring up was the media coverage and what he was doing. He was really good at marketing himself. So during his killers, what they call the Reign of Terror in the late 60s, early 70s, the media played a significant role in shaping perception and fascination, which made could be brought up that he, in the case could be argued that it made his resolve even more, possibly even made him kill more.
Yeah. Because
if he just did it once, no one heard about it.
But also like the fact that he's demanding to be put in newspapers, and they're like, okay, I understand why they did it. I get why they were like, let's put this in the newspaper because we don't want him to kill again. But like, that's only like gratifying him more and like pushing him to do it more, I feel like.
Or how many times he was in public, like hearing about himself, probably just walking around.
Yeah.
You can only imagine.
You turn on TV and he's on the TV. He's in newspapers.
He's probably in like the supermarket hearing people talking about himself.
It's like, oh yeah.
Yep.
And it's penile,
Media coverage was the big thing here. And you had a rise in the sensationalization or sensational coverage, which they intensely covered it on all the newscasts, especially in West Coast of America. The crimes, it created a sense of urgency and fear. People, because of the fear that we're making, because of what was going on in society, people were so afraid that they craved more information, which made the news even do it more, talk about it every episode, every night. Newspapers, radio stations, TV channels reported every detail, feeding the public's morbid curiosity, every detail over and over again, with people opinions on it as well too.
Yeah, like we said earlier, like the Vietnam War is going on. There's uncertainty with that. People are starting to question the federal government.
Yep.
And like Like, hey, do they really have our best interests? And you have to, put a serial killer on top of that. That's
morbid.
That feeds into like news.
Yeah, I suppose
wanting
like
to know, what's going on. And
if you don't live in California at this time, that is probably just even more interesting for like society. Like everybody across the United States were just like, oh my God, this is crazy. And just keeping up with it in the news and everything. In the late 19th century, we saw the same thing with Jack the Ripper because of the advent of photography.
Oh.
He was one of the first killers.
Yeah, that's right.
That they were able to photograph all of his the things that were happening. And
brutal.
Right. And that's what...
That sold papers.
That made him as big as he was.
Yeah.
Had he done it 10 years earlier, we may not even known his name.
Right.
The images of Jack the Ripper's victims circulated, capturing the public's attention, just like YouTube people do.
Yeah.
During the 1960s in America, the same thing was going on with TV and broadcasting because of, again, the political tension with the Vietnam War, cultural shifts, especially when it comes to media and interest in the morbid stuff, became a really big part of everyday life. So Zodiac's story was tailor-made for this kind of perfect media storm. Cryptic letters, threats, and he just played it off really well by making the media a part of his tool. He manipulated the press, actively engaged the media, taunting letters, ciphers, all that stuff. He created a persona complete with distinct symbols, created his own brand. He was just really good at marketing himself, branding himself, threatening people, threatening different publications, ensuring that the media would listen to him, and only amplifying his notoriety. This also fed into public fear and constant alertness to crave more information, so he was able to get himself out there more. So kind of this ongoing feed of like, we want more information because the more stuff that's been put out there, it kind of built on itself and it made people anxious. They wanted to know more. They wanted to know if he was coming to their town.
Right.
He wanted to know what was going on. Or everybody wanted to know what was going on because he was just so good at, he put out information that was unanswerable with his ciphers. It scared people. People thought that he was coming, could he come to our town next, So,
do you think he knew that going in?
Do you think that he know he had that kind of effect? No, I don't think he did. I think he
got lucky.
No, I don't know if he got in his mind, yeah.
He definitely took advantage of it.
But he focused on newspapers.
Right.
It wasn't like he was sending us to TV shows.
Yeah.
TV was what's really propelled it.
Yeah.
Right, but back then, newspapers were still a big form of media.
Yeah, absolutely.
The news, obviously, like television is one thing, but yeah, like the news format was huge back then. So I could see him wanting to be on the front page of like the biggest newspaper in town.
Yeah, because that's what he probably knew. That's what he knew. But like then, TV just like it was like TV grabbed it. So he probably didn't even know TV was so this side of. I mean, you think about the '60s. Like people nowadays don't realize like I don't even have cable and TV anymore. But like. You guys remember growing up with TV, like TV channels would go off the air at midnight or 1 o'clock, They'd have nothing in the middle because they didn't have enough shows. Then all of a sudden, it doesn't even a thing anymore because it's all digital and stuff.
Well, there's just so much content that it doesn't matter. It's just overwhelming at this point. But yeah, no, it is funny you bring up the whole media exposure thing because you have to wonder. Well, number one, he wanted the notoriety himself, so he started there, but I don't think he had any idea of where it was going to go. I think he just kind of like started his pattern and just kind of rode the train. I think.
And if it wasn't for TV, news, like the national news type of thing at this time, it would have stayed probably just to that small area of California because it would have been those newspapers. It may have not gotten as big and became such a big deal, but because of the you have one newspaper.
There were other newspapers that like reported on it, but again, like that's
TV really kind of pushed it out there because
we have like NBC, ABC, like, talking about it and bringing it up nationally.
Because a lot of people don't read newspaper. A lot of people at the time, especially, didn't read newspapers. I mean, a lot of people did.
Oh, they definitely did read newspapers.
Yeah, but like it wasn't like everybody wasn't reading newspapers. Like a lot of people watching TV. Like kids weren't reading newspapers; they were watching TV. No. So that's why it got a younger audience.
Sure.
I mean, we see that now. Like,
do you think he had an agenda with this with his killings?
He's
targeting young kids.
If you look at some of the letters, which I won't go into detail, he started to make some really offensive and political stuff toward the end of the letters. So in the start, it's just his like sick fantasy or whatever you want to call it. But he started to throw like curveballs in there toward the end of like his own personal views.
I know like, a lot of serial killers, they have like an agenda, like, you know, they're like
a manifesto or something.
Like look at the way society's going and morals going on, or religion and stuff like that. Like, I'm curious to see if this guy had any of that going on.
What I was just thinking about too, and because we were talking about this society impact of this, is like I was thinking about now if someone was able to pull this off and did start sending letters to a media format demanding that they show this stuff or I'm going to kill more people or do whatever. Do you think they'd actually show that? I don't think they would. There's no way. Because I think
nowadays,
I don't think they would. I think.
But it would have gotten. They wouldn't have sent it to the media. They would have just posted it online like they do now.
It would have got censored. But in the turn of that, I'm saying, people now would have had access to it to repost it and things like that. That's different.
I think if he had built up, like, clearly there's a serial killer going and like notoriety, like this is clearly a one singular person doing this, maybe they would eventually like in time do that, but I don't know.
I mean, it would be such
the liability of that.
Oh, it's a liability on the media companies now, but the other half of it is that the information comes so fast that they wouldn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that with the speed of media today, especially when you look at look at anything that happens in society now. It happens so quickly that most people just have realized, like, oh, just weather the storm for a week and you're old news and no one really cares anymore.
Right, you'll be forgotten or something. Yeah.
Like we see that with the wars going on now. Like people are just like, well, all right, well, that was crazy for like a month and now no one really pays attention to that crap anymore. Like it's just completely in and out.
For the time frame, this was and still is a shocking series of events, right? For a killer or anything. But would it have the same effect now, or would this even be capable of being pulled off now?
Well, I know it's kind of like a stretch, but like in the being a comic book nerd, The Dark Knight, they kind of did some of that stuff with like media, and even the new Batman movie that came out like did a lot more with social media about how that, I don't know, and then like in those movies they you know the news agency posted online, which only made it worse than the movies, but I think that'd be clearly a bad move for some broadcast company to do that nowadays.
There's a couple films that delve into that area a little bit. The one that's coming to mind, just real quick, is it's another Jake Gyllenhaal movie. God, what's it called?
Oh, Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. Where it's an exposure of media violence and how we actually, like, if it's something we crave or it's something that we need to have. But just something interesting to think about, that if this kind of event happened now, what kind of exposure would it get in the media, and would they succumb to this person's demands? Yeah.
I mean, we see everything that's happening in the wars as it happens. We see all the terrible things that are happening in wars, Ukraine, Israel, and Gaza. Like, we see everything that's happening right now as it happens. And I mean, you could see all that footage.
Yeah, but that's also like reporting.
That's a good point you bring up, Lou. Is that
kind of I feel like there's kind of a line. I don't know what it is.
But there's like, also like plenty of websites where you can see some really messed up stuff.
Sure,
like
from
like the undoctored like images.
Sure.
The stuff that they don't like, that raw data's out there too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now, and that brings up a good point, Chris, is that in today's society, if like a killer decided to do this, would they even have to go to the media?
Probably
no.
not.
I mean, you saw that. We saw it like last week with that guy that cut off his dad's head and put the video on YouTube.
Wait, what?
I didn't see it, but
I mean, I didn't see the video, but there's like plenty. A guy like murdered his dad for liking political reasons, and he cut off his head and held it on a YouTube video, and it was posted on YouTube for like 5 hours before it got taken down. Anybody can post it, and YouTube is probably the only place that I got pulled down. It's probably thousands of copies of it out there.
I was watching something on YouTube. There was a couple that got they murdered somebody, this girlfriend, boyfriend. They took social media pictures, I don't know, with the body, but they took posing after, like, I'm not even exaggerating this, and in the description it was like, just murdered somebody or something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's part of, like, and then we can go down this rabbit hole, but that's part of the disconnect, I think, with, like, now with media, it's like you don't even need an excuse to have the notoriety. You can do it yourself. It's possible.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody can be a reporter now.
Yeah, with it,
A reporter
checking
or a
checking
star
facts.
or a horrible person or whatever. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well,
we're living in a great age.
Yeah. Or a bunch of yeah. It's like
Hide
us.
behind the veil of a podcast.
Well. We made it to the end of part 1. A long walk down this lane, but thank you both for being here.
Yeah.
Bunker Brian.
Thanks, Bunker Brian.
Thanks, Bunker Brian.
I thank you for having me. It's been quite a while. I've been wrapped up in a lot of things. I've been busy.
Big Zodiac.
You've been governing a state.
I wrote some things along. I'm getting my penmanship up, so we'll see what I'm cooking up next.
You sound like John Wayne.
Oh, Pilgrim.
Well, again, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening, watching, or whatever you're doing right now, and you see our faces, hear our voices. Please give us a subscribe if you're new.
Follow Bethlehem. Check out their music.
Follow Bethlehem.
Follow Bethlehem.
Follow Cream Team on Twitch.
On Twitch, yes.
Yes, on Twitch. If you want to see more Brian and Jeff, or also listen to Bethlehem, same thing. You want to see both of them again. And if you want to see more of us, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on podcasts, any podcast platform, we're everywhere. MysteriousPals.com. We'll get you there. Facebook, YouTube, @MysteriousPals. Twitter, Instagram @MysteriousPals. Twitter @Mysterious_Pals. And that's all the social media stuff. Send us an email.
Yeah.
MysteriousPalsOnline@gmail.com. If you have ideas for episodes or want to ask questions or have feedback for us, just leave a link or leave a note in the link or whatever. If you want to see all of our resources I use for this, they're all in the show notes on the website or on YouTube. Brian.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
I'm rubbing your heads in enjoyment.
Sorry
for having me.
Sorry for interrupting your bunker time.
It's okay. I have plenty of time down here to think of programming to write next.
You got a lot of monitors to fill up.
Yeah. I got a lot of water to drink,
Got to power back up.
These Commodores aren't going to power themselves. I gotta power these right away.
If you got to sever the feed to the outside world now that we got this in.
Here, hold on. I'll sever the feed. It's okay. Let me see if I can sever myself.org. Let me see what I can do here for you.
Don't let the government get your fluids.
Don't let them get you down. Okay, I can't do anything. I lied.
Well, in any case, thank you for being here, Bunker Brian. Jordan, thank you for being here. We will
Thank
see you
you.
all next
Thanks,
time.
Brian.
Next mysterious place, same mysterious place, same mysterious face, same mysterious friends.
We have
House.
mysterious faces.
Good night and goodbye.